We empower fathers, we strengthen families, and no better way to represent our mission is through the 11th annual Real Dads Network Daddy Daughter Dance, where traditions are carried on and new traditions begins. Get your tickets fast before it sells out for our Girl Dad Gala, the 11th annual Daddy Daughter Dance, February 18th, 2023 in Harlem, New York. The link will be in the description below. And now enjoy the Real Dads Club conversation with hip hop legend Kurtis Blow. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content from the Real Dads Network.
Um, to our Thursday meeting, and like I said, we're very fortunate to have a legend in the house once again, our brother Kurtis Blow, and we're really honored to have him with us this evening. But before we get started, Derek, you have any announcements? Are there any announcements anyone wants to make before we get started, or any comments?
Ola, you can make an announcement, Ola.
Ola from Nigeria.
Uncle Derek?
Yes, you can make the announcement. Go ahead.
I just came in. I don't know what the discussion
Well,
is.
you can make the announcement about the computers.
Oh, goodness me. Thanks so much to the house. Sorry, I'm already in bed, to be honest, because it's midnight here already. It's a joyful thing to announce to the club that our computer donation has been approved. We're about 25 desktop computers, 10 laptops altogether, and we have printers, we have scanners that we want to ship down to Nigeria. And this was done because of our partnership with Read Network all the way from here in Nigeria. So we want to thank the entire members and network of this club for making this happen for us. It's still a long way to go, in the sense that we need to get some funding to clear it out from the donors who are giving us these computers, and Uncle Derek will share more light on that. But this is for us to establish a very good digital literacy class for the kids we work with, and it's meant for a community center where kids can also acquire multi-languages in our build-up for this capacity development for them. So for several years, we have been hoping for this kind of generosity, but we've not had a non-profit in the US that can front this for us. And I want to thank the Read Network, everyone here, that this is a huge one for us, and we did appreciate it. Going forward, Uncle Derek, you know, we are Oliver Twist in Africa. We want more. Brother Kayanta, we want more. Bramelon, McKenney, we want more. Bracolia, we want more. Uncle Kurtis, I want to tell you, we want more. In fact, 2023 is going to be a great year for us together. And I just shared some things with Uncle Mike and Ishmael this evening. We also need a minivan where we can move around with this equipment and go to communities where we'll be able to have this mobile classroom where we can have direct mentorship for majority of us that are here can be part of life events where we go to other communities to give out these valuable skills and knowledge that we tend to give. So our mobility for 2023 is very crucial to ensure that these things become so beneficial to other locations and communities. And I want to also appreciate everyone. And thank you, Brother Kendrick, for your initial stirring me up that we need to have some products there that we can used to create stream of support for what we do in Africa. So with that being said, I don't know how well I want to really say thank you, but I want to say I love everybody, and this is a breakthrough for us. And I say thank you indeed, Uncle Derek. I said to him in the afternoon when he called us, and one thing I told Uncle Derek was that I want to first and foremost appreciate him for even conceiving the thought to establish with that network. If he had not taken that step in the first place, I don't know what will have happened now. Some of us that are here, I don't know where we'll be. We may be in another event, but since I've been joining this has been one of the best, the brotherhood I have seek for all my years. So I want to thank you for having that thought and taking the initiative to even kickstart it. Because it's one thing to have a thought, it's another thing to have the courage to start it. So thank you, sir, and thank you to all members of this brotherhood. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ola.
Thank you, Ola. We appreciate you. Congratulations. And we have a lot more work to do, but we got to start somewhere. So that's great.
Yeah.
I just want to let the brothers know that the Real Dads Dance will happen. We're looking forward to it this 2023. If you're interested in participating and organizing it, Monday, get in touch with, who do we get in touch with?
It's the daddy-daughter dance or something?
Yeah, the daddy-daughter dance.
Get
Yeah.
in touch with Ron McGrew.
Ron, thank you. Had a senior moment. And we have a new brother in the house. Before we get started, if you please introduce yourself.
How you doing, brothers? My name is Zakeem Collier from New York, Rockland County, New York, to be specific. Very, very excited to be around amongst some distinguished gentlemen like yourself. Be around other dads that take pride into fatherhood, and get around other fathers to build and just evolve as dads, because as our children evolve, we think we have fatherhood down packed, and then they get into the next stage and like, what am I doing? What are we doing? We got to recalibrate. So, like I said, very excited. I met brother Ishmael on Instagram through my company page. I actually run a business where, I created a dad diaper bag just for us, something to make us feel a little special, because unfortunately, when I had my first daughter, I'm a father of 4. When I had my first daughter 7 years ago, I was a single dad, and unfortunately went through the system and family court and child support and all that right out the gate. So I just wanted something to uplift dads in that position, because we get beat down physically and mentally at that if you go through that. And like I said, I'm just very excited to be around you guys. And we got legends in the building. We have brothers that are building together, and it's super exciting. So you will see me from here on out, that's for sure.
We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Welcome. So, hey, let's get right to work. Brother Kurtis, thank you so much for joining us. The floor is yours. And I'm sure a lot of the brothers have questions and comments, but I want to give you the first choice, to get us started this evening.
Well, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Real Dads Network and the group tonight. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. And last week we were talking about just some things concerning my career and balancing, a career and family, husbandhood, also my sons, how difficult it was to raise 3 boys out here in LA in the gangland war that we are facing even still today. And it was difficult, a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, a lot of bail money, but I kept my sons out of jail. And that was, I would say, one of my biggest feats in life is the fact that my sons are still here and we are safe and sound, still living here in California. And it was just difficult. But how do you balance a career? How do you balance a job, your work, and balance your home life and your family and your loved ones and your community? You know, it all takes time out of your day, out of your busy schedule. Yes, you work every day, 9 to 5 or whatever. And then you come home, and are you dealing with your work still, or are you living your life with your family and dealing with your children and loving on them, and husbandhood, dealing with your wife and all the needs and the wants and desires that she has? How do you fulfill them and still work and get an income to support your family and pay your bills, right? So it's all a part of your mindset that you have to be committed to the quest to balance your life. You know, you are in control of everything that is that you deal with, all the situations, everything that you're dealing with between, you know, your family, your job, your career, everything is your mindset of having this joy that you have the opportunity to get it right. So you have to have that happiness, that joy inside. It comes from inside. And that's when you actually get the enjoyment out of life itself in dealing with the situations that you have to deal with. And that's what I talked about. Then we talked about some other things like mind meditation and healing and holistic healing and the chakras and those energy points that we have in our bodies. If we educate our families and our children about this whole mind power. See, the mind is so powerful, and I talked about this last week. You can heal your body with your mind. You can actually, your mind, the capacity to think is God's greatest gift to mankind. Other than his son, Jesus Christ, the capacity to think is the most incredible opportunity that we have in life, right? So your mind, I always go to this verse in the Bible, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21, that says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it shall eat its fruit. So what that means is that, you know, when what you speak is so very powerful, it will come to fruition. So when you talk death or negativity, that is what you are going to face in your life. You heard the saying, live by the gun and you die by the gun, right? So don't let those negative thoughts come into your mind so that you will speak those negative thoughts. Because after those negative words comes the negative action, right? So always have in your mind this joy, this happiness. It comes from inside. And speak love, speak positive, speak good. Always say good things to people. And this is the fruit that you will bear. I want to end by saying, you know, what you think, what you say, and then what you do should all be in harmony.
Wow, you got those pearls? You got those gems, brothers? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have anyone that would like to respond or comments? JL, look like you're ready. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, man, that's a powerful word. And, I was just thinking about the way that you were talking about the power of the tongue, of life and death. It kind of reminds me of parables and that sort of thing, and Christ being a parable speaker and that sort of thing. In hip hop, I've always seen hip hop artists as griots, like that poet historians that's telling the parables and that sort of thing. So my question for you is this: when did you realize your griot status? When did you realize that you were telling brothers a lot of times that were fatherless parables or stories that maybe we weren't getting because we may not have had a pops at home? When did you realize you were filling that role?
Well, that's a great question. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for asking it, because I remember distinctively, I got that theory from contention from the DJ on WWRL. Does anyone remember that radio station? Hank Spann was the DJ. He was one of my heroes. I mimicked his voice many a time, but there's another brother, another DJ. Well, Hank Spann had the deep voice of WWRL, Super 16. My name is Hank Spann. You can call me the server, right? But then you had another brother who had a higher voice, Gary Bird. That's his name. Gary Bird. Yes. This is Gary Bird with the GBE. I'm going to rock your mind, your body, and your soul. And he was the one that was kind of like an activist on WWRL. That station turned into WLIB, which was like the community station, and he stayed on that station for years. They just stopped it a couple of years ago, I believe. But Gary Bird was talking one time, and he mentioned the story about the griots, and how in African ancestry in the, I don't know what ages, 18th, 17th century, you had these travelers, these griots, they called them. They were travelers who traveled with kungas, and they went to the edge of the town and started beating on the kungas with these funky beats, and they would start talking and actually rapping, telling stories about the travels that they had been to, the other cities, the other villages, that what's going on, the villages, across the way, across the river, right? Just telling these stories to the people, and the people would come from miles around just to hear the griot and listen to these stories. And that's how the newspapers actually got around communicating to the villagers in African history. And so that whole concept, that whole contention is what we feel the early hip hoppers were. They're griots, telling stories to our people. As a matter of fact, hip hop became the voice of the people, right? You've heard that before. We are the CNN and MSNBCs of today. We tell stories, great stories. We let you know what is going on in our community. We let you know how we are living. And a lot of rap today, even today, this drill rap, this gangster rap, trap rap, mumbo rap, whatever you want to call it, has this negative connotation. I'll be frank with you. It is disturbing sometimes. I can't listen to it all the time because they're talking about murder and what they'll do to you and kill you. And, you know, as far as the old school is concerned, a lot of cats my age and my peers, they don't like it, and they are upset that it has turned to this. But we, as the old schoolers, you know, we kept it real, right? You heard that before. We used to tell it like it is, you know. But how about if we tell it how it should be? Right?
Good point. Good point.
And that's what I have to say, that we need to get to that point, that mindset, that mind state, and teach our youth. You guys come from royalty, man. You come from, I mean, Timbuktu, come on. The creation of intelligence started with us. Do you know the early philosophers like Socrates and Aristotle used to have to travel way across the way to get to Africa, to go to Timbuktu to learn their game? We taught them the game, right?
Yes, sir.
The first travelers.
Yes,
We had
sir.
airplanes. I'm sorry. Let me stop.
One last real short. I'll tell you. Hey, I know back in the day when you had the basketball, so do you still watch the Knicks play basketball?
That was my song too.
They were on last night. Yeah. Yes, sir. They were playing Memphis. Yes, sir.
Still watch the Knicks. Okay, cool.
Yes, sir. I always will be a Knicks fan, but I live in LA, so I'm kind of like a Lakers fan. I'm about to watch the Lakers and the Clippers tonight. Oh my God. Oh my God. The West Coast is crazy though. Them Splash Brothers, you know, Golden State doing their thing. Phoenix is the monster. I mean, so it's lit up, but the East Coast is strong too. Yes, they are. I still love that basketball. That's my favorite sport. Yes, sir.
Anyone else who want to talk next, feel free to chime in.
I'm gonna chime in, Kurtis. Just so you guys also know that Kurtis was also part of our first summit on Black Fatherhood Summit that we did in 2005. So Kurtis was on that panel with Mtume, you had Mtume, Barry Mayo, you had Bill Stephanie, Tabiti Boone, Fatin Muhammad. So one of the things also during that conference that we had, you were involved with the hip hop church. So can you talk about, you know, your passion to really develop that hip hop church? How did that come about?
The hip hop church, man, what a blessing. Man, it was an act of God, I'd say, first and foremost, being that I got to the point where, you know, I had reached the top. I'm sitting in LA and in a big old house and everything. And man, it was just, you know, a mess. I was a mess. And I started to pick up the Bible one day, and I read these stories in the Old Testament, and it turned me out, man. I was like, oh my God, I found out I had an old soul. And I love these old school movies like Ben-Hur and the Bible and you know, the Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur. And I was reading all these stories are in the Bible, and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I'm reading these stories. I got interested, and I read the whole Bible. Right, went through it became a mission. So, of course, you know, I went to the New Testament and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John talking about Jesus and the same story, but a different way. And it was incredible. Paul is definitely an excellent writer. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. And man, I just identify with Paul and that whole thing, how he was transformed and all of that. And then I got to Revelations, and that turned me out right there. I learned, I mean, I don't want to say I was hell scared, but I was like, oh my God, this is coming at us. Oh, we're faced with this tribulation and all. I said, I better get my acts together. So I started going to church. I got saved. Church on the Way, 1992, Pastor Jack Hayford. And from there, I did Bible studies and everything. So I on my way back to New York, I met these guys up in New York who did a ministry, and they wanted to honor the old school pioneers. So me and Grandmaster Kaz and Melly Mel, we went up there, right? Ice-T was with us. And they gave us Bibles, and they had a whole presentation and an event for the old school hip hop in the church. And there was a pastor who was preaching, and he was preaching about us and this and that. And man, it was incredible. There was a kid who came and did some gospel rap, and I heard gospel rap. I mean, I was blown away. I was like, man, I went to the pastor after the event, and I said, man, this was so great. Man, we should do this again. We should do this every week. He said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, if you do it with us, we can do it. I said, okay, count me in. So we started the Hip Hop E-Church, which the Hip Hop E-Church, which was like, because that church was Episcopalian. And so, you know, they're close to the Catholics, and they have their own system and their own traditions, you know. And so eventually I left that church. I had doctrinal differences with the pastor. So I went to another church down in Harlem called the Greater Hood AME Zion Church. And the pastor there, who is now a doctor, Dr. Reverend Stephen Pogue, opened the doors for the church and said, man, yeah, you can do a hip hop church here. You don't have to call it a hip hop EMAS, right? We can call it hip hop church. And that's where it was born in Harlem in 2004, I believe it was. And he actually inspired me, Dr. Pogue, to go back to school and get my degree. He said, there's a preacher in you, so you gotta get your degree and we'll get you ordained as a minister. So I did that, went to Nyack College for about 3 years, and now I am an ordained elder in the church. And so we formed the Hip Hop Church. Now there are over 65, 70 hip hop churches around the country, internationally, actually. And I'm involved. I communicate with a lot of them around and travel, and sort of like an apostle to go and support the church and support the endeavors. So I tell you, the basic concept and the theme of the hip hop church is that we use hip hop as the presenter. The presentation is hip hop, but what we are presenting, Jesus is in the center of that presentation. So many people will come to the church looking for Kurtis Blow or looking for hip hop, and they leave with Jesus. So that's our mission. Amen.
Wow. Powerful, powerful. So how are things going now at the church? Like, did it go online during the pandemic, or what was the effects of the pandemic?
Yeah, well, we shut down for the pandemic, and we're getting ready to start back up virtually in January 2023.
Nice,
But you
nice, nice.
still can go. The church is still open. Greater Hood Memorial AME Zion Church, on 146 between Adam Clayton Powell and Malcolm X. I know those as 7th and Lenox.
It's
All
great.
right, so it's there, 146th Street. They're still open Sundays. They're there 11 and 1 o'clock.
That's awesome. Matthew, Keith.
Yeah, this is Keith. Good
Okay.
evening. So, yeah, Kurtis, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts, just being, in line with where you mentioned the church and you mentioned hip hop originally starting out to be the voice of the people. Lately in the press, there's been a lot about Ye's comments around how, Jews having a real high stake, a large stake in hip hop. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that in terms of like how it went from like being the voice of the people. And if you feel like there's been, if you feel like maybe, certain outsiders have sort of changed that message and, just your thoughts around maybe some of the latest news with Ye and any, if you find any truth, any of that resonates with you?
Kanye is very controversial right now. He has a lot of people out there who do not like him. A lot of people who want to end his career, or let's say shut him down from his communication endeavors, right? It's really controversial. I really would not like to get into a racial thing, because, I am a part of the United Coalition for Humanity, which is an organization out there trying to spread the love for humanity, and that's everyone involved. But I understand what Kanye is saying. When you talk about hip hop and you reach to the top, the people who control it, the people who are making all of the money are just a few people, and the ones who are the creators of this culture, they just get a small percentage, but most of the money is made by other people. And Kanye is right in that sense, and we should all join together. I think we should all unite and make an attempt to control and own the ownership. Very important. IP, intellectual properties, is so very important. And this is why we formed the Hip Hop Alliance, is hip hop's first union, so we can promote and fight for those fair wages and fair royalties and strong health and retirement benefits for all of our hip hop and R&B ecosystem, right? But the system that we are fighting is not ours. So we were talking to KRS-One, who is our chairman for the Hip Hop Alliance, and he is saying, yes, I mean, we have a mission to go about creating change with legislation, changing the laws, organizing, uniting together and get the strongest, most powerful number of people. There's power in numbers. So we are organizing. And the third point, which he said, was if it doesn't work, let's create our own system. We know how to do this. We know how to rap. We know how to make records. We know how to distribute records. We have professionals in every category of entertainment or hip hop, R&B, or anything, consisting of people. We have the expertise to do it ourselves. So why don't we unite and form our own system, our own way of touring, our own way of recording movies and filming movies, our own way, our own intellectual property ownership of all of our product. And that's what we are looking for. So Kanye is right, but I heard oh my gosh, the George Floyd's family is suing Kanye for $250 million, I just heard. Am I right about that?
I believe I heard something like that. I read something about that, yes.
I think he gave them 2 million though.
Oh yeah, he settled out of court.
No, he gave them money prior to, he donated, I believe, to George Floyd's daughter's college fund.
Yeah.
But now the litigation that's going to court is the same thing that Alex Jones went to court for what he said about the victims of Sandy Hook. And then the same thing that, I don't know if y'all remember, not too long ago, the young boy, Nick Sand, I believe his name was Nick Salmon. He sued CNN for defamation. So the family's doing the same thing with Kanye West in regards to the fact that not only does he have a big platform, but he has an audience that follows him. So when he said that he didn't die of asphyxiation, that he died of fentanyl, they're suing, and more than likely, I don't know if they're going to win in that, but they're going to use the autopsy records, which a lot of people have commented on but may not have read. Both autopsy records say the exact same. They say that he died of asphyxiation, but they also list fentanyl and other things as causes, because often when it comes to autopsy reports, they list, it's not just one cause, so they list a multitude of things. And so they'll just have to wait and see what happens when he's in court.
Yeah. We got to keep our ears and eyes open and just see what is going to happen.
Great.
I'm actually praying for my man Kanye West. I think he is an incredible spirit, and I love his Sunday church that he has, his Sunday service. I wish he would get back to doing that, but that was incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Ishmael, and then Kendrick, please.
Thank you, Mr. Blow, for your time. I appreciate it. I have a quick question. How do we, because I feel like there's a disconnect between this generation of hip hop artists and the hip hop artists from the past, from your generation. Like, this generation is making the money. So how do you make them put that bridge together to connect the connected generations together, to make them feel, not make them feel, but have them feel like they have a stake in this, to make sure the legends from the past are taken care of?
Good question. And I've been asked that question. We have been talking about this a couple of times on our Hip Hop Alliance calls, right? And so I know you heard about Academics, right? DJ Academics.
Yes, I heard about him.
Yeah, he called us Dusty, you know, and so there was a lot of feedback from that as well, a lot of response. But you're right, we are living in a hip hop generation gap. Yes, first of all, we are the hip hop generation. We are living in a hip hop generation. It's the #1 streamed music all over the world. So everybody is tuning in all over the planet to see what hip hop has to say. And so now we have this guy, DJ Academics, who has, I don't know, 5 million followers on his Instagram or YouTube channel. And he's media. He's like the Vlad TV of hip hop. Well, he's claiming to be, or trying to be. And so he said this thing, and it just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And a lot of people commented on it, like Russell Simmons, LL Cool J, and then I heard something from the Zulu Nation as well. So this generation gap is apparent, definitely a part of the culture of hip hop. Of course, man. I mean, I'm 63 years old, but you have rappers out there who's 14, 15 years old, right? So this is a generation gap. So how do you bridge the gap? The only way to bridge the gap is with love. Love-ism, that mind state. We have to show love to each other. I mean, every time when I met Eminem, you know what I mean? It was a great conversation. It was nothing but love. When people meet you in person, they show love. If they don't, I just chalk it up to their ignorance, or maybe they just don't know who I am. Google me, all right? But basically, if we show love to each other, and I'm talking about my peers, the old schoolers need to reach out to the young people and tell them that we love them first. This will get their ear to hear. Then you can go from there and create a relationship. It's going to take patience and time, but create a relationship, and then you'll know the time, because they'll ask you, man, am I doing anything wrong? What do you think about this? And then that's when you can give your opinion, but it has to be in love. You have to tell the truth in love. That's the only way it's going to work. They're going to fight you. They're going to alienate you. If you go out, I did that back in when gangster rap started. I was like, man, this is crazy. How could y'all do this and messing up this thing I'm creating and blah, 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 blah. And people just called me a hater on the sideline. And I read that, and I read my responses and my quotes and all that hateration I was saying, and I just look ugly. You know what I mean? It made me say like, oh. And so I stopped doing that. Now I just show love. And if I get the opportunity, when I see the chance that I can say, man, you can do so much better. You can the world is yours right now. The future, our future is in your hands right now. And you come from royalty. You come from the greatest kings ever. Kings and queens that ruled this earth, and we can do it again. With hip hop, you have the power, the opportunity to change the world. We did it. We did it already. We can do it again. It's no problem. We're the #1 stream music in the world. Everybody is listening, tuning in to hear what you got to say.
That's powerful.
So,
thank you so much, Brother Kurtis. I'm Kendrick, and then Ishmael.
I'm gonna try to be brief. Again, the first thing I kind of want to address, just from a therapeutic standpoint, I want you guys to take into consideration, if you do know and if you don't, Kanye West has a mental illness. I think we lose sight of that because we have so many expectations from people who have money. But at the end of the day, I want you guys to remember that Kanye is a diagnosed bipolar. He's bipolar and he has schizophrenia. You don't take the medication, what he's doing is what transpires. And if you think about how this thing has descended or gone the route that it's gone, when his mom passed, he went into a frenzy. Virgil just passed. It got worse. Like I know Virgil, and I spent some time with Kanye. Kanye has a mental illness. So at the end of it, I think we need to take into consideration what our expectations are, and personally, what our interpretations are of someone suffering from a mental illness. If we were in a room with someone who had schizophrenia and we were made aware of it, those schizophrenic responses and Tourette syndrome, a lot of those conditions, we expect them to do what they do because we're familiar with the condition. So we have to understand that Kanye has a mental condition that we probably serve ourselves to understand what the construct is, not to justify what he does, but to understand what he's experiencing, what he's doing, what you're seeing when you're observing him. Just some food for thought, because I think all of the folks who are jumping on the bandwagon and wanting to do him in because it's popular and they think they're going to benefit from it, I think it's asinine. And I think that if God forbid something happens to him, everybody's disposition is going to change. Oh my God, poor Kanye, this and the other. We saw Whitney, we saw all of these folks, DMX, spiral out of control in the midst of people who were well aware, and we knew that they had challenges like alcoholism, drug addictions, all of that. So we can't be surprised at the end if we sat there and watched and were entertained by the lead-in. Another aspect, again, I'm just going to toss this out here for folks to consider. Jews aren't Semites. That's all I'm going to say. We don't have to have a lengthy conversation about it. There are brothers on here who are Greeks. You understand that because that's a part of your indoctrination into the organization. Greeks are not Semites. But when you take something and you constantly, if you tell a child they're stupid long enough, they're going to believe it. So we keep, every time something happens, we allow the broader society to say, oh, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism, anti-Semitism. Jews aren't Semites. That's all I'm going to say. You can do the research. Whatever you come up with is what you come up with.
Start with the Khazars. That's what I would say.
Bam. There you go. Again, we don't have to delve, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's there. So from that, I'll say, we as readily as we're prepared to immerse ourselves in these sensational aspects, I want us to consider for a second the last time we had a conversation about Chicago. At this particular point, more young Black men have died in Chicago than every single war this country's been involved in. We don't even talk about it. We don't, Black men, but we get mad when someone makes a quote unquote anti-Semitic comment. At the end of the day, Kanye repeated something that someone said, wrong all day, because we know what we were made to understand, how George Floyd died, and we watched it. But just like Paul said earlier, there were what they call sustaining and contributing factors, okay? That's what the fentanyl was. All of those things factor in. Again, not justifying it, but we got to stop leaning into the talking points, because ultimately what it winds up doing is pitting us against each other, because we want to go with what makes us comfortable as opposed to us having really sincere conversations about the things that should matter to us. So, and I'll stop there because I wanted to ask the master a question in regards to the organization that he said that they're based on what they're doing. I'm wondering if you guys have considered the potential benefit. I'm a universal person. I don't have time to hate people, but I think sometimes there have to be the same way this thing here exists. We come here to have conversations that we could normally have in a room with others in it. And I think in this approach to Ishmael's disposition about how we're going to bridge that gap, I think it has to be conversations of just us. Because when you add people who don't have a really intimate and personal connection to what the challenge is, it distorts the message, because we want to be politically correct and we want to look here and we want to say this, and everybody sends their representative and people perform. We don't need performances. Like you said earlier, and I wholeheartedly agree, there has to be acknowledgement of the short steps, the shortcomings, the flat out wrongs that transpired. Because one of the things that Kanye said that you can't get past in that industry, the folks who made it, sold their own to get there. Okay, because we know how this industry works and we know how records are sold and distribution and all of that. And at the end of the day, the folks who got to sit on that pedestal, and whether it's a movie, rap, whatever, if they got in because they were prepared to compromise the circumstance for someone who came behind them. So
And that's after you guys, because the reality is that your trajectory suppressed because of how you said you guys were going to do it. You had that conversation like, we cannot about to go out here and nigga this, nigga that, nigga ourselves into a hole. That's what the industry wanted. They're like, oh no, they'll tell you. There were things that show how these processes go, and when the records are presented, they're like, oh, you're not saying nigger enough, and this, that, and can we get a little more of this? And how do they tell us what our expressive dispositions are? But when they're writing the checks, and when the money's the priority, that's what transpires. That's what we threw on.
Excuse me.
When we're watching our kids doing what they're doing partially what we forced them to, what we allowed them to, because none of that should have gone unmentored. None of it should have been a matter where someone wasn't standing there saying, no, 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 because we're the product. We are the whole product. Without the product, there's nothing to distribute. So we got to do some deep diving. We got to do some soul searching. And like I said, I would suggest that conversation transpires in the absence of a lot of folks. And it doesn't have to be complete exclusion, but like sometimes we have to get together and have some rough conversations, come up with a plan before we go out, because we can play the game and we can go out and be like, oh yeah, I love you, I love you, I love you. But there has to be some real action and some realness that transpires between us, because if it doesn't, it's going to go out there and fall apart. And when we come back inside, we're going to be pointing fingers like, oh,
good point. Good point, Kendrick. So
it's messy. We got a lot of work to do.
Good point. Ishmael. Thanks, Kendrick.
You're muted.
Oh, Uncle Mike. Jay and then Zakeem is next.
Oh, sorry, Zakeem. Please go.
I believe Jay had his hand up first.
Oh, wow. All these gentlemen on this call. All right. Hey, Jay.
Yeah, I was trying to say something to the OG, the guy, the rapper. Maybe they should do like something like, you know how like the construction workers, they gotta pay like senior dues, they dues or something like that. Like maybe they can come up with something like that where the people that became before them can get paid. Like just because they opened the way, they did this. Am I wilding maybe?
I think you are, and this is exactly what we are doing with the Hip Hop Alliance. Everyone, you can learn more about the Hip Hop Alliance. It's free to join if you are an artist or singer, podcaster, DJ, b-boy, b-girl, any kind of creator, musician. You can join for free. It's hiphopalliance.org. That's hiphopalliance.org. And we are presently working on, like I said before, promoting fair wages and fair royalties. But to answer the other brother's question as well, we are working on that conversation right now. Tomorrow night is a very important special Zoom call that we are having tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's with KRS-One and Chuck D and Special Ed, who made the song I Got It Made. You remember him? But Special Ed is spearheading this conversation tomorrow with all the OGs on the West Coast, the gangsters, the OG Crips and the Bloods. Tomorrow night, the OGs of hip hop as well, the legends, MC Light will be there, Melly Mel and KRS-One, like I said, and we're all going to unite tomorrow night to start this conversation about what we can do to help our youth stop the violence between each other, between us, and of course, the violence that is being injected into their communities and their lives. How can we stop the murders over in Chicago? How can we stop the gang violence in New York? How can we deal with the drill music that is plaguing our communities all over the country, over in Houston, Texas, and of course, LA? And man, it's crazy. So we're gonna do this tomorrow night and just initiate the conversations and just, communicate with each other and join forces and see what we can come up with. And I also have, there is a guru I've been talking to for about 6 months now. His name is Guru Guru Dev. Sri Lanka is his name. You can look him up. He is the #1 peacekeeper in the world. He has 28 honorary doctorates. This man is incredible. I went to his facility over here in LA and it was incredible. He has this whole program of mind meditation and breathing techniques that will deter anyone who wants to do violence. If you follow this program, these breathing exercises. And like I was saying earlier, mind meditation, music is so powerful. You heard the saying, music can calm the savage beast, right? And so there are special frequencies out there that you can listen to overnight that will heal your body, that removes toxins and infections from your body. Look up YouTube, mind meditation healing music. These frequencies are different from the normal frequencies that we listen to. When we record in 44.1 stereo or 44.8, something like that. But there is another frequency, let's say a 528, that will give you love, that will, and there are frequencies that will clear or open up your chakras. These are the energy points in your body. You have 7 of them, most people say. Actually, there's 118, and Guru Dev will tell you this, but out of those 118, most people know about the 7, from the crown to the third eye, to the throat chakra, to the heart, to the stomach, and then your root chakra. And so if you have these mind meditation healing frequencies that can enhance your chakras, they can enhance your mind state, and they can heal your body and deter you from trying to kill anyone. And I would love to bring the guru on the line at some point in time and let him speak to us, because he is an incredible spirit and entity that I feel that could be one of the pathways that we take to deter our youth from killing each other.
Thank you. We appreciate that insight and information. That's awesome. Brother Ishmael, you've been waiting patiently.
One quick question, Mr. Blow. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Talk about the disconnect between the younger and the older statements of hip hop. I want to ask the question: do you think sampling and remix probably played a problem with it too? Because a lot of times you have artists that make remix of classic raps or sample, and a lot of generation doesn't know that original track came from one of the elder statesmen. So can you kind of talk about maybe that could be the disconnect right there, is still sampling and remaking songs?
I can't see it personally, but I'm a little biased because I was the first one to use a sample in hip hop, and I was the first one to use a sample loop in hip hop. I created the first sample loop, and then Eric B and Rakim did it on I Know You Got Soul, right? But I have made a career from sampling and the sample loop and using this technology to compete with all of the other talented musicians that I was faced with, like, for instance, Larry Smith, who was my bass player, band leader of the Orange Crush Band. And he went on to produce Houdini and Run DMC. And so in order for me to compete, I was using the technology and computers and sampling and synthesizers and the whole 9 yards. But so I'm a little biased when it comes to that technology. I love it. I will always stick by it. As a matter of fact, I preach technology today. It is something that we need to be aware of and ride that wave and adjust and adapt to the new technology that's coming out. For instance, like Siri. Siri is incredible. I used to have to go to the library 2-3 times a week and read books, man, and stay there for 2-3 hours at a time just reading a book, man. And now I could just, it's at my fingertips. I can go on YouTube and get a tutorial and ask Siri, you know what I mean? But that's what it is. I'm just a fan of technology. So I guess not the right person. I don't think that it was a deterrent. I think it was an asset, and it gave us the fortitude and the actual opportunity to actually create music when we didn't have musicians and we didn't have instruments. You know what I mean? We just sampled and we used what was around us. And that was ingenious, I think. Well, I'm talking about myself, so I rest my case. I'm sorry.
Well, we appreciate you. Zaki, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of shift gears. I wanted to ask Brother Kurtis Blow, what were some of the most difficult moments you had in fatherhood, and what resources did you use to overcome those moments?
Good question. Wow. Now I have to think. I had a lot of difficult moments with my family and my sons and my wife, even just being an entertainer, and balancing the career and not having the time to spend with my kids. Man, that was so much of a difficult moment for me, because I was like, I was the school driver. I get all the kids, wake them up in the morning. All right, everybody up, get them their breakfast and everything before mom would wake up. And I'm out in the car driving them to school. Then they went to 3 different schools. And so I had to drop kids off in 3, and I was the designated driver. But how I got over and dealt with that situation was I made my sons my DJs when they got older. My oldest son is my hype man. He's a rapper. He's working on his 3rd album. And my wife is my tour manager and my personal manager. She's not my wife anymore. She's my wife-inger. So that's how I dealt with it. I put them into it and they're working perfectly for me and supporting me, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's cool. I'm glad to hear it. It reminds me of this new guy. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Toby Wigway.
Uh-huh. Okay.
He raps with his wife on most of his songs. And he
Right,
has
right.
he has 3 little children. He brings them out on stage. They're in all his music videos and all that. So that's pretty cool.
Right, right. It's all about the family. You know what I mean? All right, you got a career. All right, let's go.
Yeah, that's dope. Thank you.
Marlon.
Brother Kurtis, it's great to see you again. I just wanted to touch on a couple points that we were making before, specifically about the younger generation and the lack of connection between the two. I guess Maya Angelou said it best. When you know better, you do better, right? And I think for a lot of the issues that we're having, it's all about education. And going back to what you said, Brother Kurtis, you were talking about we come from descendants of kings and queens. A lot of these young folks, they don't know nothing about their history. They know nothing at all about all the dynasties, about Egypt and Africa and Kush, you know, and that curriculum's not even taught in the schools. So that's why we have a generation that's lost, not to even mention just going to the whole crack epidemic. You know, a lot of us grew up through that and destroyed, plus, you know, mass incarceration of Black men. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But one thing that's really great about your organization, I was just looking at it right here, the Hip Hop Alliance, is the key is also ownership. We've got to own things. We have to own like these, like all these IPs. We have to own things. Shameless plug, but so my name is Marlon and I'm a publisher, right? So I'm an independent publisher, but I publish African historical fiction graphic novels. So kids open these books and they see Blacks like Imhotep, Black folks that are doing things, you know, in history that they should be learning. And so with that being said, I was checking out your website here, and what other type of, I guess, educational things do you have here to kind of help spread the word for the Hip Hop Alliance?
Yeah. If actually, if you join, right, you can actually log in and give yourself a password, and you put down your email and you create a password. Once you do that, then you fill out a little survey, I guess, and then you can access the resources, the members' resources that is on the website. And once you go there, you'll see all the education modules that we have, from copyrights to trademarks to publishing to, you know, dealing with your manager, dealing with your record company, and how do you stream your music? How do you, you know, get a NFT done? You know, the Web3 and the future, you know, the metaverse and all that is there. You know, you have all kinds of information, and you can also contact us for any direct questions that you have as well. So
that's great.
All the information is there. We have a lot of information, and we're constantly working on it. We are going to do a conference on November the 7th. KRS-One is going to do it from London. He'll be in London. And so we're going to have this conference where he's going to talk for like 4 hours and answer all the questions from our members. We have about 3,000 members so far. And so everyone is going to be there with this panel discussion and ask questions about what they need in their journey of their careers. So that's what we're doing.
Nice.
That's great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great. So, Brother Kurtis, you know, it's been a pleasure to have you here. And I see those beautiful plaques behind you. If you could just share one of your surreal moments, a moment that was like, wow, in your career with us this evening. And then I'm going to close out. If any brothers didn't get a chance to make a comment or express their gratitude to Brother Kurtis, we're going to close out with that. So, Brother Kurtis, some surreal moment or?
Well, let's go with the breaks right here. So as you guys know, or you may not know, that the Breaks was the very first certified gold record for hip hop. So I have the first plaque. That's my claim to fame, sort of, right? But I also was the first rapper to play at Madison Square Garden, right? As 1981, I believe, or 80. Madison Square Garden sold out. I was on tour with the Commodores, right? All platinum tour. Incredible. Like over 120 cities around the country. So here we come. We're coming to New York, and we get close to the date. And so the promoters came to me and asked me, you know, hey, we're thinking about adding this artist to the show in New York because, you know, is getting close and we need to sell tickets. And what do you think? We are not selling that many tickets right now. So we want to put this artist, his name is Bob Marley. Have you ever heard of him? I said, sure, I heard, yeah, add him right away. They added Bob Marley to the show. We sold out 5 minutes later, right? They added another show. We sold out in 15 minutes later. They added a third show. The third show sold out. 3 nights in New York. I'm playing with the Commodores, opening up, and Bob Marley is going after me. I'm 19, right? And so here I am backstage, and everyone's talking about the Breaks. The Breaks that just went gold, right? And so we're all celebrating. I'm backstage with Sarah Dash, rest in peace, on my right side, and Bernadette Standis. I think that's her name. Remember from Good Times?
Good Times.
Yeah, Good Times, right? The girl, she was beautiful, right? And so I'm standing next to these beautiful ladies, right? And so here comes a crowd of people on my left. I'm seeing it coming down the aisle of the garden. Backstage is a whole big crowd of people walking slow towards us, right? And I'm looking, and they come right in front of us, right? And the crowd opens up, and I see it's Bob Marley in the middle of the crowd. He comes up straight to me and puts out his hand and says, and shakes my hand. And he says, Kurtis, I like your stuff. He shakes my hand and goes back in the crowd. The crowd closes up and they keep walking to the right. I said, oh my God, did you say that? I'm nudging Bernadette and Sarah Dash. Oh my God, right? That was a great moment. That was his last show too. His last show. He died about 3 months later.
Wow.
Bob Marley, rest in peace. I love him. I love him for life.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. That is so powerful. Can you
I
Thank
just
you.
want to thank the legend and pioneer, Mr. Kurtis Blow, for 2 weeks in a row being with the Real Dads Network. I appreciate you. I'm a big hip hop fan. And I also, a lot of people don't know this, I've been DJing since college, undergrad. And you know, I love, you know, I'm biased. I play old school a lot, you know, whenever I do stuff. But I remember in elementary school, man, getting ready in the morning and hearing AJ coming on, getting ready for school before I walked out the house, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of memories, and I just wish, you know, during the time when we were raised, it could go back to that, where it was safer, you know what I mean?
Right.
It was a good
You know,
time.
Yeah.
You know, your mom
I agree.
closing your face, make sure you don't got nothing in your eyes, and brushing your hair. You know what I mean? So, but thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representing.
Anyone else want to express their gratitude or a comment before we close out? We're winding down. Yes, Joaquin, please.
Hey, what's up, brothers? What's up, Kurt? Oh, man.
Hey.
Thanks
What
for
up,
being
what
here,
up?
brother. Appreciate
All right.
it. 2 things you said. One thing you was talking about, drinking water, man, in the beginning, right? And I've been drinking this, right? But I've been filling it up with ice. And so I haven't really been getting, because it stays cold all day. So I haven't really been getting a lot of water intake. So it came to me the other day in my sleep. Forget about the ice. You'll be able to drink more water. So now I'm drinking the right amount of water. And man, I feel the difference like crazy. Like
room temperature, right?
Yes,
room temperature.
I'm drinking like 2 to 3 of these a day, easy. And I feel the difference in my body.
Yep,
But,
you know, go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Well, you know, the one thing we need to do, because most Americans, they have ice. When you go to a restaurant, they give you a glass of ice. It's normal culture for America. But when you go to Europe, it's not so, right? Because they know ice makes your drink cold, and that cold drink going down into your system will make it more difficult for your food to digest. And that's the problem. This is why most Japanese people or Asians, they drink tea after a meal, a hot drink that will help your food digest. But carry on, you can go.
Yeah, so it's made an amazing difference. And I heard you talk about which is so powerful about the mind and, you know, and what we speak and the power of the words and everything. And I think too, like we don't, and I know for not even, I know for a fact, we don't know how powerful we are, especially when we connected to the source. And that, you know, we can, you know, you talk about thinking positive thoughts, because a lot of times we hold on in the mind, we hold on to the negative, you know, and our self-talk, sometimes our quiet talk is not always positive and productive, but that you talked about manifesting, and that's a real thing, man. And I love to hear you talk about that. And you even talked about if we could even talk the music, like in the music, talk about the way things should be or the way things are going to be, right? And I'm telling you, I've had that thought before, like, because I know that the music has an intelligence too, and it's powerful, and that it can change the world that way. So the fact that you even saying that, I know that that's going to come to fruition in time. And the other thing is this journey on the, you know, this past couple of years, I've been in a journey in the body because I had the high blood pressure. And so I've been in the body for, man, 2.5 maybe years now. And I'm telling you, man, like this whole journey has been, you know, mind, spirit, and heart has always been my focus, never realizing how important the body is. Like they all have to come together. So now, I guess that was my journey to be in the body. But let me tell you, man, it's amazing, man, that, you know, doing the work, like Kendrick always talks about, like, that's where I got it from. The water we take in, the elimination, and the friggin' sea moss. I've been in sea moss. I called Kendrick the other day, like, yo, not the other day, maybe a couple months ago, like, how long I've been on sea moss? He told me the date I got it. It's like almost been 1.5 years. And then I started with the turmeric, right? And I told you this, and it's still happening. Like my dick is waking me up, you know what I mean? Which it has, you laughing, I'm dead. I'm telling you, it's been happening every day. Middle of the night, she's waking me up when I gotta pee now. And shit wakes me up. I mean, and I'm looking at my face in the mirror. I'm like, yo, I look younger. Like I told my wife the other day, I'm starting to look younger to myself. You know what I mean? And even my granddaughter, when she got on the phone with my son, we was on FaceTime, all three of us, she called me daddy. She couldn't tell the difference. So I'm like, yo, what I'm saying is that this shit works, man. Like how we take care of ourselves, like we not getting younger, but I feel so much better. You know what I mean? And I know that when the body is getting the proper vitamins and nutrients, it will heal itself, no matter what it is. And a lot of times we don't get that because we eat dead foods. It doesn't have the nutrients because of mass production. So this sea moss that brother Kendrick, man, let me tell you, he needs to be on every day telling us, yo, come on, man, get that sea moss and start. He told us several times. He did. I'm not even saying he needs to be talking about. That's even wrong to say that, because he told us several times about drinking the water, about the elimination, about the sea moss and the turmeric. Forget about it.
There you go.
I agree. Man. I'm telling you. And at 60, look, my dick hasn't woke me up in quite a few years. Yeah. And wifey, she's not, she don't wake up for nobody. She sleeps hard. I sleep light. Listen, I've been having to tap her and she's been getting up. Yo, come on. Yeah, it's like that. It's beautiful.
All right.
Yeah, man, I just want to say that, like, we need to really, like, we can. There is, there's life after that, man. And
Yes, I agree.
Can't thank you enough, brother. I can't thank you enough, man.
No problem.
I can't thank you.
You're welcome.
For real dads, because you know what? I came here and I got blessed, really blessed with health, man.
It's all good. It's all good. You blessed us just now as well. So, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
Amen.
And one more thing, brother, like back in the 80s, when they had the new music seminars, they used to host them at the Marriott Hotel in Manhattan, 45th Broadway. And you used to come there. I think they had it for a few years. And so I used to be a bartender up there. And yeah, man. And it was only me and another black guy that was bartenders, all white guys. You was there. And man, you would go out your way to show me some love, for sure. And I appreciate that, man.
All right. My man. Thank you.
We're ready to close down. Zach, if you want, we have a half a minute and then half a minute.
Real quick, my dad actually jumped on, so I just wanted to introduce you guys to my OG, Ron C. You see him there?
Hey, Ron.
Beautiful thing, fellas. Wonderful to see everybody.
Welcome.
In my life, my whole life, showed me the way, showed me a good, the stepping stones on how to be a dad to my family. My family of 6, and I just wanted to point them out and give them some shine.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Dad, for joining us. Want to see you next Thursday. Doug, you have a half a minute.
Will do.
Yeah, Kurtis, I just want to shout you out. I had the honor of meeting you years ago. I'm 60 years old, so I seen you at the Disco Fever doing your thing, you and AJ and all y'all. But I just want to say, with the Hip Hop Alliance, do we have anything on there that talk about intellectual properties and stuff like that? How it will work?
Oh yeah, that's one of our top priorities is our IPs and ownership of your IPs. And there's a lot of things that go along with that. Your copyright, your trademark, and your publishing, your mechanical publishing along with your writers. And that's the ownership right there. And then licensing, knowing how to go to the licensing companies and present your case and get your ownership together, because ASCAP is out there, you got BMI, and you need to stake a claim for your music. Once you put out a song, you got to know this information that you need to put out a claim for that music with ASCAP, with what's the licensing company? Harry Fox. You got to do it for Harry Fox. You got to do it for ASCAP. You got to do it for BMI. And you also have to do it for the internet and online with Sound Exchange. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
That's a company that collects money for artists for online radio play. You can get paid online for those podcasts and those online radio shows like Sirius Satellite Radio, XM, and all that. Those streamers, and they have to pay Sound Exchange, and Sound Exchange pays artists, not just musicians, not just songwriters, not just rappers, artists. You have a record deal in your name. I don't care if you didn't write it, you still get a royalty as an artist for online play. And there's a new law that's starting down in DC called the FMA, the American Fairness Music Act, the American Music Fairness Act. All right, AMFA. And it's a law that says now AM and FM radio stations have to pay artists royalties when they play their music on the radio. And this has never been done before. So they have to pay you like Sound Exchange pays you. And that's incredible. This is a new law. So these are the things that we are presenting on the website that you can read about and find out about, that IP ownership. All of that is involved in case together.
Well, thank you. I'm definitely going to tune in today.
Well, Brother
Can I
Joseph,
can I say one more thing?
Brother Curtis.
I should have said, I'm 60 years old. That's why I'm so excited about what's happening. You know what I mean? Because I'm 60. So maybe I'm talking to the older brothers. I know the young brothers, you ain't, but yeah. So that's why. No, don't look it. That's the C-Mars. That's the C-Mars, man. I'm telling you.
Well, Joaquin, thank you.
Look great.
Thank you so
You look
much.
great.
So, Brother Curtis, we cannot thank you enough. We honor you. We appreciate you. And this has been an incredible time that we had with you. And thanks for all the gems that you dropped. It's been
No
a
worries.
information. Thank you. Thank
No
you.
worries. My pleasure. I love you guys.